All righty. Hello there, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. We're super excited to have Yvonne Battle-Felton here to lead a workshop with us. So thank you so much, Yvonne, for joining us here at the Stay at Home Festival. We're absolutely looking forward to it. So what I'm going to do now is introduce Yvonne to you, and then I think I'll go ahead and pass it over to her and let her take over from there. So Yvonne Battle-Felton is author of Remembered. She's an author, academic, and creative producer. Remembered was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction in 2019, wow, and shortlisted for the Jaluk Prize in 2020. Yvonne has a PhD in creative writing from Lancaster University and is a 2019 British Library Eccles Centre Visiting Fellow and Principal Lecturer, Business and Enterprise Lead at Sheffield Hallam University. So we are absolutely delighted to have her here with us this afternoon. And Yvonne, I'll hand it over to you.
For having me. I think this is such a great way to spend the day and to spend either lunchtime or midday or in between, activities and events and projects and life and all of that. So I'm so glad that I could be here and that I can be, writing with you all today. So thank you for joining me and spending some time. So I thought we would jump right in. And because it's a writing workshop, for me, one of the most challenging things sometimes is making time for writing. And that's because I absolutely love doing it and it fills me with joy. And so sometimes I look at it as a bit of a treat. So I do everything else. And then I'm like, oh, when I'm finished all that, I can write. And so I'm trying to get myself out of that and trying to say, nope, start your writing first thing in the morning or at the very earliest before you do other things. So today is it's also a nice treat for me. So I thought we would do some exercises. And then if we have time later, maybe I'll read you a little bit from Remembered. But in the meantime, as we're doing the exercises, if you'd like to share what what you have been inspired to write or what you came up with, please do pop it in the chat. And we'll just, have a read and tell you how great it is. The things that you write, remember, they are drafts. So you might decide to revisit, go back to it. And, after thinking about it a little bit more, you may say, oh, maybe I want to go in a different direction or try something new. And that is absolutely okay. So we're going to start with one of my favorite writing exercises. And after we do it, I'll tell you a little bit about why I love this exercise so much. What we're going to do is to write a 26-word poem. It's 26 words because you can use each letter only once to start a word. So that means there'll be one word that starts with A, one word that starts with B, one word that starts with C, and so on. The poem does not have to be in alphabetical order. It doesn't have to rhyme. It can be about anything you want it to be. If I were stuck with a theme, I might start with the weather because it's something that most people have a point of reference and a starting point, something they can say about the day, about the weather. So it's 26 words. Each letter of the alphabet can only be used once to start a word. Again, doesn't have to rhyme. If you're thinking, does it have to make sense? Well, it should to your target audience. Now, you can choose your target audience. If we were together in a space, I would say we were one another's target audience. And so that would be all of us. But your target audience can be whoever you want it to be. So maybe you're writing it for friends, maybe you're writing it for family, maybe you're writing it for your neighbors or someone in your community, your colleagues, someone who might share a point of reference. Maybe it's people you don't know, but people who live in the same city or where you're from or where you're at. But that's going to be your target audience. So what do you want to say to them in 26 words? This is your poem, your piece. It's also a draft, so have fun with it. Now, if you're like me, you're deadline driven. So you're wondering, wow, how long do I have to write this 26-word masterpiece? Great question. You have 10 minutes. So it's 1:10. I'm giving you 10 minutes. Your time starts now. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat and we will try to answer them at that point. And because I'm a talker, I'm going to mute my mic because otherwise I would talk to you for the whole 10 minutes. So again, your 10 minutes starts now. Have 2 minutes. Okay, great. How was that for everyone? You can pop your response into the chat, or you might want to put your poem in there. Um, I always find that exercise really interesting, partially because I'm not a poet. And I think that gives me the freedom to just have fun with it, to explore and to break it. Um, I also like it because again, I do like deadlines and it challenges me and I think other people to one be creative and concise. I agree it's very hard. Um, and I also agree that like Q and Z, like some letters, you just have to think like, you know, what what do I want to say and how can I say it in a different way using this letter? So the dictionary often comes in quite handy. A thesaurus says, I also quite like it because I do like concise language, and there's something sometimes just quite poignant about getting right to the point and leaving everything else to the imagination or up to interpretation. I also quite like it because so it's the concise, it's the word choice. I do like lists, and so to organize it, sometimes I might write the letters of the alphabet across, the page, and then cross them off as I use them. I find when I don't, when I leave it to memory, that I'll overuse a letter here and there. But I also like because it's only 10 minutes, and you don't even have time to tell yourself, "I can't do it." You just kind of go with it. Because if you start with the, okay, I can't do it, then maybe you give yourself what, 15, 20 seconds to tell yourself you can't do it. The clock is still ticking and it's still getting closer and closer to that 10-minute deadline. And so you know that you have to have something on the page. And what's it going to be? I also find it fun, like if you share it with someone else, just to kind of see, what did they come up with? What did you come up with? And to encourage one another. Because in those 10 minutes, you most likely haven't sent something that you're going to, send out to the New Yorker or to Granta or wherever your, dream publication is. You would ideally put it away, come back to it like after some deep breaths, and then maybe do some editing. That might be where you expand it, and maybe where you say, okay, 26 words was, a great starting point. What's next? Maybe you're going to expand it and, go further. Maybe you're even going to make it even more concise, because maybe it turned out everything you needed to say was, 12 words. And that's great. That's completely fine. You can do with it, what you will. I like to think of this as a party game. I am the sort of person who hosted a midnight New Year's Eve party because it was online, and did, have party games that were writing exercises. You'd be surprised how many people, were surprised by that, but they all did it. They all gave it a go. And what else can you ask? So No surprise that we have another writing exercise that we're going to do. So this one's another short one, and that's again just to kind of warm us up, and then we can get into a little bit longer of a writing exercise. So for this one, wherever you are, I'd like you to look in. So this might be the glove compartment under the seat of your car. It might be not the first drawer, but the second drawer in your bedroom. It might be under the bed, in a kitchen drawer, in a cabinet, just somewhere that's not necessarily out, something that's tucked away. It could be in your purse, in your wallet, but have a look. Before you do, though, think of what's inside. So, what do you remember being in it? So, let's say you're using, I'll use my purse. So, if I was going to think about what's in there, there'll be a couple of things that I automatically expect to be in there, whether they are or not. But so first I want you to think about what's inside, and then I want you to look. So go check. So if this place is close to you, so do try to, choose something that you can reach kind of easily. Again, even if it's under the seat of your car or under your chair. But then I'd like you to check what actually is there. And I want you to list them. In this list, I'd like you to consider those questions of who, what, when, where, and why. So for who got it for you? Or who did you get it from? Or who did you get it for? And then when did you get it? What is it? Where did you get it from? Why did you get it? Or why do you still have it? And then using that information and bullet points or just sentences, what do these items, what do they say about you? If they could talk, that might be a story they would tell. It might be that something that if someone were to look and see this scatter of objects, they might form a picture or an idea. What do these items say about you? So for this one, you have, it's either going to be 9 or 10 minutes. It depends on when I stop talking. And I'm going to pop it into the chat again. And in that way you have it so you can kind of go back to it. And you have until 1:35. If you have any questions, please do pop them in the chat. And again, I'm going to mute my mic because otherwise I'll keep talking. but 60 seconds. I'm sorry, no, I was thinking no pressure, but 60 seconds. So, what did the inside of these things, what did they say about you? What did they suggest about you? If you'd like to, you can pop them in the chat. And I'll tell you a little bit about what mine uncovers. So, there's a lot of things inside my purse. I know that I have lipstick, I have paper and pen, I have an extra charger, an extra charging cord. I have a picture of my daughter from when she was 1 and she's 26 now. I have tissues, more pens, just in case. I have loose change. I have a wallet. I have emergency gum, emergency coffee creamer. I have my passport, my little biometric card. So the inside of my purse, I think it says I'm a mom. And it also says or shows that I'm a migrant. I'm someone here for a temporary time. I'm not permanent. I'm in between places. To some people, it means I'm here to take their jobs, their benefits, and their opportunities. That's not actually my plan. I moved to the UK for a PhD. I stay here because I teach, I work, I create opportunities and experiences and platforms that aren't just for me, but for other people as well, because community is important to me. So my purse just gives a glimpse. It doesn't tell my story, just like the contents of your things don't likely tell yours either. So I thought that exercise is a nice way for us to just dive into stereotypes. You'll often come across stereotypes in some pieces that you might read or that you might write, something that you might see on TV, it might be in a movie, it might be in a song, it might be in conversations. So there are often these little shorthand cuts that people might use in order to think that it tells a bigger story about other people. Um, it's a way of reducing humans or people into numbers, into sometimes ill-formed statistics and opinions. It's an easy way to put people into boxes that allow for racism and misunderstandings and miscommunications and all those things to kind of grow and fester and linger. Stereotypes are kind of caricatures of people and characters all around us. We do see them everywhere, and sometimes people see them in us. They look at us in one way and they expect us to behave in another without having the benefit of actually getting to know us or taking the time or taking that experience and having a conversation. But people talk about stereotypes. They use stereotypes when they talk about other people. For some people, that informs the view of the whole world. They may not see anyone from a certain place, but yet they have an opinion or an idea about people based on any number of things and any number of things that might be wrong. But this is not just people, it's places, it's possibilities. But the stereotypical characters that you might see in literature and in media are the ones that are usually one dimensional and quite predictable. They don't seem capable of growth or change. They're seldom developed. They're like minor characters, best friends and sidekicks. They're the backdrop propping up the protagonist or maybe even the antagonist. But what if they weren't? What if writers stopped relying on narrow views of people and characters and started developing them as full characters capable of change? The way people resist stereotypes, categories, those narrow slivers of understanding, we can do that with our writing. We can write beyond stereotypes. The first step, I think, is for us to, what I'd like you to do is to take, I was going to give you 2 minutes, but actually I'm just going to give you one. So 1 minute. So bullet points on a piece of paper, please don't share them with us. But I just want you to jot down some stereotypes that you think of for like 1 minute. These might be roles of people. They might be just little snippets of what you think you know about someone, or what do people think they know about you based on either where you're from, where you're at, age, gender, ethnicity, religion, language, anything. What do people think they know about you? So you can do either one. What do you think you know about other people, or like a specific group, or what do people think they know about you? Jot this down in your notebook, or type it up in your Word document. You're not going to share it, reflect it on it, but you have 60 seconds, and then we're going to do some writing to break those down. Sorry, your 60 seconds starts now. Kathy, that's a great question. They could be either. It's completely up to you. You're not going to be sharing these with us, so you can completely go with either things that you think or that others people think. It's your choice. Okay. Sorry, I was just reading the chat. Some of these are so nice. So keep them coming. Thanks so much for sharing those. All right. And when I said those, I meant thanks for sharing the your responses to the previous exercise. So for this one, I'd like you to still think of this stereotypical character. And if you haven't already thought of one, think of one now. So this stereotypical character can be, it's your choice. Maybe it's one that you've recently read about. Maybe it's one that you've been curious about. Maybe it's, I don't know, the evil stepmother from any number of books that you've been, that you've read as young people or as older people. Um, when I think of parents in literature, we don't always like moms. My goodness, if we're alive in something, I guess we should be thankful, but we're not often portrayed in positive ways. But it kind of depends. But so I'd like you to think of a stereotypical character that maybe you'd like to know more about. Maybe you've stumbled across them in a book and they've had 2 pages, and you're thinking, "Huh, what did they bring to it?" Or you saw a picture in the newspaper and maybe you thought, oh, I know exactly what this person is thinking, or I know exactly why they did whatever they did, or guilty, innocent, whatever it is. Thinking of that character in mind, I'm going to ask you some interview questions. So we're going to interview this character to really find out what's their real story. Now, by real story, this is imagined. So from this point on in the exercise, you're imagining these responses to the questions that I'm asking you. And ideally, we will have fleshed out this stereotypical character so that we never have to see them as a stereotypical character again. So this is going to be someone that you're curious about, that you'd want to write about, and we're just going to jump right in. So I tend to start with the exterior because that's seldom the most interesting thing, to me at least. I never really care about someone's eye color or the style of their hair unless it's going to tell me or show me something about them. Because that's my like least favorite thing or least interesting thing, I tend to start there to kind of get it out of the way. So the first question is, what does the person look like on the outside? And these answers, just type them up, write them down, whatever is convenient for you. But you're building a character sketch. So what do they look like on the outside? This might be skin color, body shape, size, hair, type, anything. It's up to you. But you have about a minute. While you're thinking of what they look like on the outside, this might also include how they get around. It might include if they wear glasses, if they have a walker, if they're in a wheelchair, or they use a cane. Consider all of the things that you might see if you see this person. Now let's move to the inside. What sort of personality do they have? Maybe they're outgoing, maybe they're really shy, maybe they're really quiet. Um, but what kind of personality do they have? And also, what are they good at? What are some of their strengths? So it's personalities, strengths, and then weaknesses. And I will put these also in the chat. When you're thinking of some of their strengths and some of the things they're good at, this could be anything. It could be maybe they're good with their hands, maybe they make people laugh, maybe they're really caring, they're a good listener, maybe they are a fast runner, um, a people person. When you think of some of their weaknesses, maybe they're quick to anger, or they are a little too trusting or too forgiving. Maybe hmm, they're one of those people who it's really hard for them to find happiness. So the next questions, and again, I'm going to pop them in the chat. Where are they? So where in the world is your character? This could be where they are right now. This might be a country, a city, a town. Be as specific as you can. Maybe they're at work and they work at the whatever. So like, where are they? And then the next questions I put in there are, when are they? So when in time? Just because you're writing about them today, it doesn't mean that your character is a contemporary character. Maybe they're set in the future, or maybe they're in the past. But also when you're thinking about where and when they are, I'd like you to think about what languages they might speak. And then knowing whatever you know about them and where they are and when they are and the languages. And you might also know their ethnicity. Based on all of that, what might be some of the challenges that they face day to day? What could they be worried about right now? So I'm going to give you 2 minutes and I'm going to mute my mic so that you can, think and write. Okay. Who loves them? So there will be other characters ideally in your character's life at maybe if they're not living now, but maybe they are. So who loves your character? And then the next question is who do they love? Now sometimes that's a different answer. And I'm going to put these in the chat as well. Now that you're starting to get a sense of this character, I'd like you to name them. And also give them a nickname and consider if they would have one. But then I'd like you to consider who gets to call them that nickname. And I'll give you 2 minutes. And if you need the questions, they're in the chat. Okay, you're getting to know more and more about them. And what do they want? So people and characters, there's something that drives us, right? So there's usually more than one thing, but because of time, I'd like you to consider one thing that your character might want. So this is that thing that motivates them. Whatever it is, maybe they want a better life for themselves. Maybe they've always wanted to, I don't know, raise their family, or they've always wanted to have a family, or maybe they want to be the leader of a company, or they want to go home, or they want to die happy. Like, what do they want, and what stands in the way of them getting what they want? I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay, this is one of my favorite questions. What is your character willing to do to get what they want? You know, some characters are willing to wait, to pray, to hope. Some characters are willing to kill. I do write murder mysteries sometimes, so that's probably why. But some characters are willing to do, nothing and to hope. But what's your character willing to do to get what they want? And I'd like you to go with that kind of that first instinct. And so I'm only going to give you about 30 seconds for this answer. Okay. And the questions I'm going to leave you with are, now that you know, you're getting a bit more about this character, you're getting to know a little bit more about them. And ideally, that helps you to write about them from a place of curiosity and maybe a place of empathy. That will mean that there are certain things that you will explore in the writing and kind of see where they want you to go. So, where does this character want you to go? What's possible for them? What might their story be? One way to look at it is, if this character only has one story to tell, who do they want to be in the room with? Who do they want to tell that story to? And what do they most want that person to know? This could be anything, anything is possible. When I do exercises like this, when I sit down and interview my characters, it's typically because there's something they're trying to tell me and I'm not hearing it, or I can't figure it out in another way. When I'm lucky, my characters actually kind of come to me fully formed, or at least partially formed, or a shadow, enough to make me curious and to want to know, what do you want? What are you trying to tell me? What do you want me to do? What's your story? And I write character driven prose, which means that I let the characters kind of decide what's going to happen, or I let them lead and I follow. When I get stuck in the writing and I have to ask questions to figure it out, I usually will write different scenes and write my character talking to another character. I might write them getting what they want or what I think they want. I might write them losing something. I really am always interested right now in writing about my characters finding love in whatever way they decide it or define it, because characters don't always get to have that. And the characters I'm most interested in writing about are typically either underrepresented or they're silenced in other work. And so I want them to know joy and happiness and love, even if it doesn't end up showing in the story. But I try to write characters who are capable of change. So they might do, things that are questionable or that are mean or bad or whatever. But when I look at the reasons, the rationale, their why, it kind of builds into the logic of the story. So my hope for you is that you've met a character that you want to know more about, someone that you're willing to explore and that you can see where they want to take you. Of course, my hope for all of us is that when we're reading something, we're no longer faced with stereotypical characters, and also so that we will, and those of us, those around us, will remember that people are people and they're individuals, all capable of change and growth, and everyone has a story and we don't always know it. So instead of jumping to conclusions and searching for stereotypes, we can instead get to know people one story at a time. So thank you so much for giving us a try. I know we have like 1 minute, so I'm not gonna pull out the book and be like, oh, I'll read to you. But if you, thanks for letting me know how you found these exercises. I saw someone has an idea for a novel that's amazing. Please write it. Um, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad it got your mind working and it's giving you some ideas to write about and things to do. Um, I'm glad you not liking the character but having sympathy for them now. I think that's wonderful. And it gives you a chance to really get to know them. We don't like all the people we meet. We might not like all the characters we write, but even the ones we don't like have a story. I'm just going through some of the comments. So they're really lovely. Keep them coming. Thank you so much, and thanks for spending the day um, with us and spending your hour with us. So It is really quite revealing finding out the nickname and who gets to call them that. Oh, I'm so looking forward to reading your work. So please do tag us in on your, like, if you're on Twitter, I'm at Battle-Felton. So if you've written something today that you'd like to share, then please share it with us. Share it with the Stay at Home Festival. Tag me in, and thank you, Carly, and have a wonderful rest of your day. Happy writing.